You only need to know me. I will be the one.
The end of One Piece is finally in view. Like an X on a map, we know the destination and even the time it might take to get there. Although I personally said it's going to be 5 or 6 years left for what seems to be the last 5 or 6 years now. Ichiro Oda didn't reveal that strange mural or cave-like painting on the wall for nothing. Like so many lovers or students of history, he appears to be somewhat of a conspiracy fanboy, or maybe even a conspiracy theorist himself. We're talking ancient aliens, technologically advanced societies that once existed in the One Piece world, before the world was destroyed several times over. In many ways, Oda is saying history is not all it's cut out to be. Where there is light, there is also shadow. In the darkness, there lies a truth that has been hidden from the people of One Piece for one reason or another. The first world, perhaps gods once roamed or ruled. Deities or divine beings, alien life forms. It sounds a lot like the far-reaching speculations some like to make about our own real world, don't you think? We'll come back to this another time, but for now, we know there is a king that currently sits atop the world. For some reason, this king is viewed as a god, sometimes referred to as the creator. And so the creator of this new world, after the prior world was destroyed, and even the world before that, Imu, God, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the creator and destroyer of all things. This is important to remember as it pertains to Imu's true power and greatest ability. The world is once again about to be destroyed, and so God's knights have been dispatched to hunt down God's enemies, the infidels, those that carry the will of D and their supporters, pirates like Monkey D. Luffy, revolutionaries like Monkey D. Dragon. Imu's true power is as mysterious as what lurks behind the design of his character, the longest running in-story silhouette, maybe. But Oda has increasingly pulled back that dark veil to provide us with clues as to Imu's true identity, and the most broken ability in One Piece so far, the most powerful ability of all. A power befitting not an admiral or an emperor, nor the pirate king. Yes, this power surpasses them all. A power befitting a god-level character. The latest clue illuminating the stage, coming from the gods' knights themselves. But first, as many of you have noticed, for the last half year I've been away from YouTube. Yes, that's a long while. And it's a long story. But an even longer story, One Piece is racing towards its ending. And I've always intended to be a part of the community for that. I have no intention of missing that ending. I recently moved, if you didn't know, into a new studio for the channel, and it's going to require some upgrades for quality. I think I mentioned this in a prior video. And so I'm trying to get some funding for it. Call it crowdfunding. So if you're a supporter of the channel, even a long-time supporter, and you want to help me out, feel free to make a donation to my Patreon or PayPal account in the description box below. Anyone that donates will get a big thank you from me in the next video. Anyways, it could be that Imu can use every ability of the Gorosei, and the God's Knights even, or that their powers are echoes or shadows of his own. The yokai or monster transformations of the elders suggest Imu also has a mythical zone of some kind, awakened, demonic. As for the God's Knights, Cerberus is said to be a monstrous, multi-headed dog, often depicted with 3 heads, that guards the entrance to the underworld, preventing the dead from escaping, and the living from entering. So think of being in hell, which is how Sabo described the empty throne room chamber of Imu. There is an artistic depiction in One Piece, I think, from Skypiea of a multi-snake-headed being, or a multi-headed snake being or whatever, fighting against what appears to be the sun god Nika, or the sun god Luffy, as seen on Elbaf with both a sword and a shield. So Imu is likely to be some kind of monster, but do we think he is a multi-headed snake? Or some kind of shape-shifting being that can use a wide variety of transformations or many different abilities? Many Zoan or mythical Zoan abilities, and Paramecia and even Logia Delphoid abilities too. A god or god should be able to do anything or everything right. Every power you can imagine or dream of. A god or god should feel limitless, to keep up with Luffy's sun god transformation that continues to surpass former limits. The pentagram is likely the sign of the devil, the sea devil. The abilities of the Gorosei and the Holy Knights likely all come from Imu, but they are not trinkets of God. Instead, they are high-interest loans in a way. They don't really belong to you. Rather than a gift, these powers are like rented cars, signed over by way of a pact or deal with the devil. Give your soul to me. Devil fruits seem to bind with the user's soul when you eat them. This is possibly true for the pentagram or black magic devil power users as well. Shanks is the first to tell us that devil fruit abilities come from the devil. Devil fruits are incarnations, creations of the sea devil. What Shanks says exactly is the following. I once heard that devil fruits are all the sea devil's incarnations. If you eat one, you'll gain a special ability, but you won't be able to swim. Given Shanks' family ties to the Figerland bloodline, he might have learned about the sea devil from someone in the Holy Land. Given it's likely Shanks made contact with his true family at some point, his real father, Figerland Garling, after the passing of his adopted father, Goldie Roger. In terms of area of effect and long-distance abilities, we recently saw Imu attack and kill the Gorosei member Saturn for his failures on Egghead. The immortality and regenerative prowess that had long protected Saturn was stripped from him in a singular moment. Black flames of some kind, dark Haki ensnared Saturn. It was pulled out of Saturn before erupting in an explosion, and he was nothing but a skull and bones. A strange ode to what Joy Boy Returns Luffy giggled about to Kaido when Luffy's own life was threatened. When we die, there's nothing left but skull and bones. Also notice in those black flames the shape of a demon or evil face laughing. I'll try to circle it for you in the video. Disturbing, right? I really don't think it's a reach. The devil himself was inside of Saturn, which means Imu is also here on Elbaf with the Strad Pirates. If he did give those abilities to the God's Knights, he's present in all of them. The all-seeing eye. Imu Narona is said to be immortal. Ivamko prepared to confirm this, so it's possible Imu had gifted immortality to the Gorosei. What about the Holy Knights or God's Knights? If God's Knights are also capable of regenerating, then we'll have our answer. While some God's Knights also have awakened mythical zone-like yokai as abilities like the Gorosei. What's interesting is we can't tell whether it's just Shamrock's sword that has eaten the awakened mythical zone power of Cerberus, or whether Shamrock is somehow sharing that power between his body and his sword. If it is just his sword, then that makes sense because it would further the twin parallel of Shamrock and his brother Shanks, who has not eaten the Devil Fruit ability. And so both brothers would lack Devil Fruits, except Shamrock's sword would have one. What Shanks summons from his own sword against Eustace Kid, the Griffin, is likely his spirit or Haki manifest. Both the Griffin and Cerberus are guardian-type mythical creatures, by the way. The other God's Knights appear to have regular Devil Fruit powers, but possibly use them in unique ways. I'm thinking about the guy with the thorns and his fixation on love. Just like the Gorosei, God's Knight Shepherd Sommers seems to view love as a weakness. The love of the giants to save the giant children results in them getting cut by thorns. Love hurts is the message. But then we have Scopper Gaban, who mentioned that he had sensed some abnormal Haki coming from the castle around the time of the arrival of those two God's Knights, Gonko and Shamrock, as demons summoned from the star-shaped pentagram. This abnormal Haki was first sensed when the Gorosei were summoned to Egghead Island by the same demonic pentagram. Dark Haki as a sort of demonic or dark energy. Maybe Haki is more than we think it is. Does this in any way align with Oda's repeated emphasis on the power of love? Ever since Saturn inquired as to how Kuma, a buccaneer and so partially giant's blood, was able to move again. Love is a force, a part of the One Piece power system possibly, and its counterpart is hate, the sun or the darkness. A question of which will win, love or hate. The power of love and the power of hate. Sanji has long been compared to Scopper Gaban, and Luffy pretty much confirms this in chapter 1139, when Scopper describes himself as the preacher of love, and that love is free. it doesn't cost you anything. Sanji most recently mentioned the power of love on Agate Island, when blocking an attack from the Seraphim without taking any damage. Love is a force, a power. It's free and requires no energy. Can love give you a stronger offense and defense? Is it somehow a stat booster? Love is a feeling, an emotion, and so the theory of emotional Haki, or emotions influencing Haki, combining your emotions or love with Haki to create entirely brand new abilities. The same might be true of hatred, the dark side of love, inversion. Let's turn the world upside down. The devil replacing God. Imu and the power of hate instead of God's love. Does Imu seem like a hateful character? I've said before in another video that the sea and the sea devil should be two separate entities, right? Two different beings. The sea as Mother Nature hates devil fruit users and likely hates the sea devil too. The devil of the sea. So I'm wondering, is the sea the only way to defeat Imu? I can already see Oda promising to us again to not finish off this major opponent, likely a final antagonist, with a punch, if you remember Kaido. But most likely, we will get a battle of gods above the red line, just as gods used to exist during the past. The god Luffy destroying the red line by punching the god Imu, or the devil, down through the red line into the seas below. Symbolic, because the oceans would no longer be divided. The four seas might become united, as the devil Imu is knocked down from the Holy Land, down from heaven, down into a watery hell, where he belongs. Going back to Imu's potential devil powers, if power can be stripped from Saturn, Imu should also be able to take back the power of those that derive their devil fruit-like abilities from the demonic pentagram. The pentagram is a way of saying they bear the mark of the beast, and even the insignia on some of the God's Knights jackets appear to have devil horns as an ode to the devil Imu. But instead of reclaiming anything, if devil fruits originate with the sea devil, Imu should be able to serve as the original source of these abilities. But maybe that's not right either. Maybe the sea devil simply creates these powers like dark magic, conjurings no different than the pentagram or magic circles. The sea devil of Imu is a sort of dark magician, an evil wizard king, or sorcerer, defying Mother Nature and the natural order of the world by creating and using these devil fruit powers. Magic versus nature is a common trope in some stories, I think. And while the Gorosei and Holy Knights seem to derive their abilities from the magic of the pentagrams, the runes, or the Nordic runes and symbols on these magic circles, might play a similar role when compared to the spiral patterns we find on all devil fruits. The swirling circular energy that Oda spoke about in one of his interviews. The world, after all, has been destroyed twice. The sun god and the light. The light of nature seems to have lost to dark magic 2 times over the course of One Piece history. This is something I noticed a long time ago and I wasn't sure where to fit it in. As we mentioned, Ivankov is the one that gave us much needed information on Imu Nerona, going so far as to explain his immortality, his last name, and family history. But Ivankov, who we also meet in Hell and Impel Down, is said by some to hint at Imu in the story of One Piece, a secret ruler in Hell, and a portion of Impel Down that is in the sea, of questionable gender. Ivankov is called a miracle person. The power to make miracles occur is magical, divine, of God. God and the Buddha are said to go hand in hand, and Ivankov does criticize those that gave him the title of God or Buddha, letting us know he is not. And so Imu is not really God or Buddha either. But there are those strange golden large gold-faced statues from Skypiea that many think reflect the true face of Imu Nerona, or at least the demon or devil that we think his character might be associated with. What power, what miracles or wonders might Imu have in store for the remainder of the series? With his dark magic, can he pull a rabbit out of the hat? The giant straw hat of the Holy Land will be one of many sights to watch for Imu's final performance. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at the following address @VillainRagnar. My Twitter page is on the screen. And feel free to join my Patreon to support future videos on this channel. And like I said, I'm currently fundraising to make upgrades to the channel in the new studio. So if you want to make a donation, links to my PayPal can be found in the description box below. And again, I appreciate the patience, you guys, and April's going to be a wild ride. I have a lot of incredible videos planned. As always, there's more to come. Until next time.